The country has always seen.
I'm for starting win. Kufanele reward. Kufanele 200k. Lapha sinika umuntu. Akasithole reward usina conviction. Sokuthala bebila vele. Yona ke conviction ile lesibali yona le. Awu. Sedala bo.
Zamilo tlema reward kwa head office ba re kwana tswere paperwork.
Yeah. 2 years neshuna lento le. Impilo zethu lezesela. Lela umuntu esifakelwa manje yini manje lamasenga lawo. Awuvuke. Stimulus mashele mina nawo escape lapha. Ama politician bonke bagibelile mina nawo asikho.
The country has always seen.
Amarondo. Legislative crew. From Shafu 3 million. Cash house.
Gentlemen of the jury, the real McCoy.
Angiphakathi futhi ka 400k. Washa. Stekanye.
Are you ready?
Kafu.
So intwale nyona nomji. No polite. Kumpomplele. Batla ba le phodisa or batho ba tsotsi.
They won.
Fire!
This is the most aggressive military buildup in Russian history.
I told Sixth Fleet you want a hunter killer.
We've been ordered to cross waters that no American saw.
That's a warship.
Torpedoes in the water!
Battle stations.
Ship ready! Solution ready! Weapon ready!
Fire!
Minister.
It's a coup. What if we could free President Zakharin?
We rescue the Russian president.
Has ever crossed before.
Take us along the ocean floor.
We've been keeping tabs on the Russian president and his defense.
We're going in with 4 of our boys. There aren't training simulations for this one.
If we don't pull this off,
It's gonna be World War III.
I see that Russian film I made some while ago is quite relevant today. I just want to share a little bit of my story about how I went from making the first of those 2 movies there, a South African film in vernacular for 4 million rand we made it, to the very next film I made was a $40 million film with Gerard Butler and Gary Oldman. I just want to tell you a bit about how that could even happen and how that could happen to you as well. I made Number. I didn't think it was going to be particularly special, but it caught fire around the world. That film was unbelievably well received. And I'm talking about a film that's very South African. It's in vernacular. It's not even in a language that anyone overseas can understand. It's got subtitles. But something about that film captured the imagination of the world. And I just want to share with you that story because it was completely unexpected for me. I thought I was going to make a small movie for the local audiences, but it ended up finding an audience in every country in the world. And we sold it internationally, and it was exceptionally well received. I started by getting accepted into the Toronto Film Festival, and I took the film there, and I was amazed at the response I got. And this is my analysis of what happened and what I think we should be looking at as local filmmakers. I discovered that what was so great about Inamba Number was that it was a genre film, and I really feel like we should be making more genre films. Yes, there's a space for the art films as well. But what was amazing was this was a genre that people understood in America. It's a high genre, they know it, they know the tropes, they love it. But it was set in a world of characters that they'd never, ever encountered before. In languages they'd never heard. They loved the Tsotsitaal. They loved the different, and we used everything from Afrikaans to Sotho to Tswana to Venda to Zulu, and there was even a little bit of English in there as well. They love the South African subcultures. And I'm urging all of you to make genre movies in our subcultures. And don't feel like you have to Americanize them. It's enough that it's a genre. In fact, South Africanize them. Use our languages. And don't feel that those are just for a South African audience. You can take what is unique about South Africa, what is unique about our stories, and make it as South African as you can. And you will find that international people will fall in love with it, as long as you have that genre element that they can recognize. Because what they're desperate for is something original, a new voice. And this is why I got the $40 million picture straight after that, is because they wanted something original. They wanted a point of view. They wanted my South African point of view. And that's what I try to bring to that feature film. And that's what the international people are actually looking for. So if you as a filmmaker, you as a producer, you as a writer, don't lose what you know. Try and bring what you know and how you express yourself as a South African to the international market. And they're going to lap it up because, in fact, they're kind of tired of their own worlds. They want new worlds. They want new languages. They want new points of view. And if you can bring that, that is very special. And the other thing that's interesting about South Africa, and in fact, this was the first question I was asked. I showed this movie at the Toronto Film Festival, and somebody raised their hand in the Q&A, and they said, well, you know, how can I, as a white person, be making this film about black people? You know, and that's a relevant question. Maybe some of you are thinking that right now. And this was my answer, and this is my honest answer, is that something very special happens in South Africa because of the many cultures we have. We have 11 official languages, means we have 11 cultures at least, and subcultures within those. And when I bring my Western influences and they collide with the African influences, something kind of magical happens that's very unique. And when you allow all those cultures to talk to one another, something very special can come out. And Inamba Number was one of those films. It brought everybody's sensibility, and I collaborated very closely with the cast. I had a gangster, Israel Makwe, ex-gangster, famous actor. He came in and he brought in the language, he brought in the reality of his life, his time in prison, his knowledge of what goes on in these heist gangs. I brought my movie-making sensibility and the movies that I loved growing up, and my love of genre. And we all collaborated without losing what was best of all of that. Yeah. And created something very unique. So I would really urge you guys. I mean, I made a movie for 3.5 million rand. This was 10 years ago. It's possible. Just make that special, very South African film, and you're going to get noticed overseas. And be proud of that content, and take it proudly onto the international stage. And you will be amazed how that'll get lapped up. If you try and be something you're not, or try and be American or be something, I'm even resistant to bringing out international actors to be putting into our South African productions. Let's put South Africans in the leads, and let's make them stars. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for that, Donovan. And I believe we've got enough industry, enough talent in the industry to be able to have as many South African leads as possible. On that note, let me move over then, and before I continue with the program, actually acknowledge a couple more of our guests that have been joining us tonight. Let me acknowledge Imran Khan, the CEO of GEP. Mr. Khan, good evening to you. Let me acknowledge Simpiwe, who is the chairperson of the MICT CETA. And I also want to acknowledge Geitumetse Matlangu, who is a board member of the GFC. So thank you all for being able to make today's program. On that note, we've spoken about the tourism industry and how significantly it was impacted by the last 2 years. I'm going to invite Mr. Baba Rauganediwi, who is with the Gauteng Tourism Authority, to speak about the role of the industry as well, and what resetting and reopening up looks like, and if it also means that we're going to get discounted prices for when we need to shoot, not to stay, to shoot at these very beautiful destinations.
No, thank you, Chetli. Good evening. Well, I can start there. So from GP number to Gomorrah via Mzansi for sure. The head office of lifestyle and entertainment here to the industrialization funding mechanism of the IDC, to some of our content pioneer with the drip. That tells the Gauteng story. So I've just given you the script. And I deliberately chose that because sometimes we look at tourism in a traditional way. Discounts, people with the binoculars, with the short pants, looking at animals. And we need to change that narrative because, for example, we are a lifestyle entertainment, sports entertainment destination. We don't have the mountains, we don't have the sea, but what we have in abundance is people with style, with tenacity, 14 million of them in a 52 million country. That's a unique offering. So how do we package that? Secondly, from one of the only 3 cities in the world to host the FIFA World Cup final and the Rugby World Cup final. The only street in the world with 2 Nobel laureates that woke up and say, hi, how are you, from each other. The only street in the continent that gets featured in a monopoly. To the only place where you touch base with your common human ancestry in the cradle of humankind, World Heritage Site. To the manufacturers of our fighter helicopter, the Roy Falk, right here, that should have been featured in the number to showcase our military prowess. To the Union Building Office that continue to symbolize the seat of power, but nobody knows how does the Union Building Office of the President looks like. And we all know how does the Oval Office looks like, and how does even the President walk back. And this is a call that I'm making to our filmmakers, to our producers, to say we are available. Tourism and the destination marketing and the film sector forms part of an integrated parcel. The Nelson Mandela Bridge, our unique taxis, the towers at Hillbrow should form an indelible link in your opening links, in your closing link as part of our destination. The Joburg Red Bars, the unique offerings in Tshwane, our township lingo. So I'm deliberately not saying the traditional tourism stuff. And this is how we should be telling our story. My role, our job at Gauteng Tourism Authority is being responsible for the destination brand. And part of the unique way of us doing this work, one of the channels we have adopted is storytelling. But we can't be the one that tells the story. I've just given you some of the key facts and figures that you might probably not know. We should be having a film why we are part of the 10 biggest derbies in the world. Jomo Sono leaving the wedding to go and score a glorious goal. That should be sitting side by side on a Netflix production with the Pele and the Neymar film. It shouldn't be. And we should be able to dial back to our sports tourism route that take us back to Orlando Stadium, that take us back to Pefeni, to the home of Kaizer Chiefs, and the Proez at the Sports Science Center in Pretoria, and all of those things. For me, this is the content that will set us apart and make us recover our destination. We are available to work with you. We'll be coordinating with the Film Commission, the part of the Film Summit. There's absolutely no reason why we don't have a Soweto International Film Festival premiere at Vilakazi Street with a red carpet throughout the street. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, Baba. I can tell you've given the elevator speech a number of times, hey? All right. On that note, let me then continue here. Very soon we're going to be talking about the funding aspects of how we get all of this done. Before we get to it, however, I just want us to spend a little more time hearing the stories of how it is that some of our legends have made it. Let me invite Thabang Moleya to come onto the stage. Thabang, you seem off guard.
You've been embezzling money from your bank. And we've been watching you for quite a while now.
Don't I look stunning?
Sports cars, trips abroad.
I'm not talking about that, Bali.
Yes, so we channel Matani, hijack Lento.
Your phone got shot.
I'm looking for the most badass operators out there. Peter Swan. I'm not afraid. Give it time.
Getting shot isn't as bad as I thought it would be.
Yeah? Tell that to your hands.
Sure giving his client his money's worth?
Zingakunkomo zami seyilahlekile kulamanje.
Ungayenza lento. Ikusasa lakho le. Kumele sele umhlabelo omusha bokusheshi lawo.
Iphi lenja ethatha inkomo zami?
Dilika shini. Yena umbulali mina ngiyacela man.
We've been looking at your performance lately. Welcome to the big boys. He specifically requested you.
You're a truly amazing woman.
You are a client.
Okay.
You still love it. What more could you ask for?
I actually don't know what I want. Well, you better figure it out.
Lies all this time!
Enough of this sappy nonsense.
16-year-old boy from Boxburg.
I'm not gonna let you go.
I can't lose you two. Suck it up and do the job.
I just wanted you to know in case you gave a shit whether he lives or dies.
He's not gonna make it.
I lost a patient.
I need your help. What do you know about the bomb?
I want a name!
What a terrible thing to happen to a little girl.
Look at me!
Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be here. All protocol observed. Thank you, MEC. Thank you, Gauteng Film Commission. You know, Joy is here. Hello, Joy. Yeah, for me, my journey in the industry has been very instrumental by a lot of things that have played important parts. National Film and Video Foundation for the film festivals I was able to travel to. Gauteng Film Commission for, you know, some funding into my projects and my movies. So I think for me, I'd like to give a voice to the young filmmakers, because I was once a young filmmaker and I understand the importance of breaking into the industry and the challenges that young filmmakers have. Institutions are quite expensive, and our youth end up not finishing their courses. Parents are put under immense pressure to pay for these institutions. The kids don't finish, or some of the kids finish, and they're looking for jobs. We get endless CVs. Every single day, I'm looking at CVs of kids looking for opportunities, who have qualifications. So, you know, I know we speak about training, but these kids are trained. These kids they've been trained enough, and it's really about opportunities now, and it's about how on our projects, on projects such as Gomorrah, on projects such as my movie, how can they plug into those projects? How can they get employment? You know, already telling your parents that you want to study film and TV is already a very long conversation, because they don't understand why you want to get into this industry. And then you get into the industry, and then you don't get a job, and then you end up with a qualification working in a place where your skill is wasted and you're not actually doing what you've trained to do. So I'm honored to be on the Gauteng Film Commission. I'm honored to be a G-Force member, and I'm going to advocate for a change in youth development, in giving these kids some sort of opportunity across all sectors. Because in as much as we've had great careers, you know, I feel like I'm only starting. Donovan's, and I admire your work and I respect your work, brother. You're absolutely great. But it's about the kids. It's about these guys. These are the guys that are going to carry us. And it's about giving them a voice and giving them a platform. So I'd like to encourage everyone who's on this panel, the people, the powers, for us to really inject the youth and give them a voice. And one thing that we did learn from this pandemic is that when we were locked down, all we had was entertainment, right? All we had was the local shows that people are on to watch. And that's part of how Gomorrah got so popular at the beginning, was that our show launched at the beginning of the pandemic. And obviously it was, you know, it is a good show, and we've maintained those numbers and we've risen from those numbers. But my point is that this is such an important craft in bringing people together, in bringing families together. And we also have a great opportunity to talk about the things that this country has to talk about, you know, the topics of men's health, the topics of gender-based violence, the topics of alcohol abuse, drug abuse, drinking and driving. And so all of these things, media and the craft that we do, is such an important way to educate people and to give light into topics that are very uncomfortable spaces, and to open up dialogue that we should be having as a nation, dialogue that's important in us growing and us healing as a nation and as Black South African men. We can do better. So thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to the year. I look forward to partnering up with a lot of people on this panel and really making a difference to the industry and really uplifting and taking care of the next generation. And to all the legends that are in this room, Mamzo, I love you. Hello.
Thank you for that, Thabang. I'm going to ask that, can we please give Tati a happy ending, Batung? She's been through too much. Can she just get her happy ending at last? He talked about the powers that be, and we know that much of power and influence lies in who controls the purse, right? Where is the money to make all of these dreams a reality going to come from? No, he's looking at me like, please don't do that to me. Where is the money going to come from? And what are the models of funding that are available to many of you that are in the room? Well, let me invite then the head audiovisual at the IDC, Maijang Mperwani, who is going to be giving us at least his organization's view in terms of where we are. But before you come up on stage, I'm going to also acknowledge in the room another board member of the GFC, Tato Mulamu, who is with us. And also a reminder that, of course, we are streaming today's event at Gauteng SACR on the Facebook link. And just be mindful, because we are going towards the Q&A session, that when you do ask your question and answers, we're recording you, ne? Just know the world is watching you. On that note, Ntate Maijang, the floor is yours.
Yeah, too much pressure. I wish I had the money myself. Probably wouldn't be here, but good evening, MEC, CEO, board members of the GFC. Thank you so much for inviting us to come and engage. We did our best to be here. I'm not here alone. I'm here with my colleague Mpho. Can't see her, she's somewhere around here. So beyond this, if you want to talk to us, please do find Mpho somewhere here, and she'll gladly assist and engage you on whatever needs that you have. I think a lot has been said, both by the platforms and the industry experts themselves, together with Baba there from tourism. I think a lot has been said. And I always, when people ask us what our interest really is in the industry, I try to sum it up by saying there are probably two aspects to the content production industry. I don't like it. I don't like calling it the film industry per se, because production is multifaceted. And I say there are two aspects to it. The one being getting into the industry and producing to preserve what we call the South African story, and preserving our arts and culture as perhaps what government would be primarily interested in, ensuring that our stories are being shared with not just ourselves but the world. And then there's the business of film, right? The business of production. And that's what we are interested in. We appreciate the former, we love the former, but we really are interested in the latter. It's what drives us. It's what makes us wake up every single day to go to work. We have this, and sometimes I say to my colleagues, perhaps we're naive, but we have this strong belief that says this industry can be probably the biggest contributor to the South African GDP, far bigger than what manufacturing does, far bigger than what the volatility that is experienced in mining, right? Thabang just said something eloquently and said, when the pandemic hit, right, all we had was entertainment. We didn't give a damn how much the price of gold was. It really didn't matter. It didn't matter that people could go underground and produce platinum and diamond, and the oil price tanked. It tanked significantly because none of you was going out and driving your cars, right? Nobody was consuming petrol. All you had was entertainment. And suddenly, all that content that was sitting in the archives was suddenly becoming relevant, and it was an asset that you could sweat, right? So that's what we're interested in. we believe not only that this industry, if managed correctly, both by all stakeholders, from government to funders to the industry players themselves, if managed properly, it can be the greatest contributor to the GDP of this country, better than any other sector. Secondly, that it can be a catalyst to job creation. You know, when we sit and we assess deals in the manufacturing space, people spend millions of rands to create really small number of jobs, right? And ours are looked at as, okay, fine, you're creating 1,000 jobs, but those are ad hoc jobs. They are freelance jobs, they are not sustainable. But when you look at it, the amount of money that is being paid in this industry on an ad hoc basis is crazy, right? It's equivalent to what a 3,500 earning minimum wage earning person sweating 12 hours a day in the middle of a heat in some power station in the middle of nowhere is way bigger than what they earn cumulatively in a year, right? Meaning, technically speaking, you could work for 6 months and go rest for the other 6 months if all you were doing was looking at it from a perspective of a minimum wage, right? But if you were consistently employed, and it means you'd probably be making more money than any person working in most sectors, even if you are probably the blue-collar worker of the industry. Not talking about Donovan and Tabang there, who coined it, but you know, so that's how important this industry is, and that's how low-key we have been, because all we've really been doing is just pushing this notion of telling a South African story and trying to, you know, not taking a dig at SABC or DSTV, but trying to be on local platforms. You know, and I always say, with all due respect, if you're a producer in South Africa, you are probably struggling unless you have a daily show, right? Unless if people see some form of your content on a daily basis on their screen, 99% chances are you're a struggling producer. On the same token, if you're an actor or an actress and you are not seen on TV on a daily basis, there are high probabilities that you're a struggling actor. But how do we turn that around? Because the power is there to do that, right? And sadly, we keep talking as role players. All we do is talk, but the reality of the matter is the industry is in a mess. And in small parts or in big parts, we all have a role to play in how messed up the industry is. It's the most uncoordinated industry in the country. The most unpredictable, unreliable industry with lots of uncertainties. When South Korea, with how many people? Right? We have 57 million people. They're probably what, 14, 15? My stats are probably incorrect. But how flourishing is that industry?